everybody, and thank you for tuning into Nizzy Sports Chat. I am your host, Nizzy, and in this video, you guys, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Green Bay Packers and what the Green Bay Packers should do moving forward after an absolute disappointing season. Again, you guys getting ousted in the second round of the playoffs this year instead of the conference championship finals. Tough way to go out, honestly, as a Packers fan, you guys. It was a rough one to watch. The defense of this Packers squad played absolutely outstanding. Probably the best defensive performance Aaron Rodgers has had, in his playoff career for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, just absolutely outstanding performance by our defense. Rashawn Gary was amazing. Zadarius Smith with a big-time sack. Adrian Amos with that pick at the end of the first half. Just a really, really, really good performance from that defense. And it's just so unfortunate, so disappointing to see this team lose, getting, like I said, the best defensive performance, I would say, in Aaron Rodgers' career as a Green Bay Packer in the postseason. Most of the times his defenses are allowing 30-plus points a game. He got outstanding performance out of his D this year and unfortunately just weren't able to pull out the victory in this one. Obviously, the special teams cost us a little bit. But I'm not even going to put all the blame on the special teams, you guys. I really feel like this is down to the offense. Our offense needs to be able to score more than 10 points in a game. We should have scored more than 10 points in the game. It wasn't like they were playing lights out defense on us. They were playing quite good defense, obviously. But there was a lot of good quality money balls left out on that field there, you guys. I went through some of the game tape, listening to some of the other analysts as well this morning on my way to work there. And there were some missed throws, simple as that. There were some missed throws by A-Rod. Just didn't even attempt to throw to some of the open guys throughout this game. I think there was, the clip I was watching, there was 6 different downs where he had an opportunity to throw to a wide open guy for either a first down or a big chunk gain. And he didn't even have him on his radar. He wasn't going through his progressions the same that he normally would during the regular season. Aaron Rodgers just seemed to have those blinders on, only really focusing on where Davante Adams was. Probably the most notable play that I seen is that at the end of the game there, when he threw that deep ball to Davante Adams, who was in double coverage, way down the field. He was just throwing a hope and a prayer up in the sky for a long bomb. And then if you actually go back and watch that play, you guys, you'll see that Allen Lazard is actually open on a crossing route underneath. It's still a longer throw. Like, it wasn't just a chump change 5-yarder. He was open probably about 20 yards, 25 yards down the field on a crossing route. And I mean wide open. There was nobody even near Allen Lazard on that play. And for some reason, Aaron Rodgers just didn't see the guy, ended up launching it deep to Davante there. That would have been a first down. You would have had field position around midfield if you complete that ball to Allen Lazard, if you were able to see him there. Then there's 3 or 4 other plays as well throughout that game, you guys, that I went back and seen, where Josiah DeGuara was wide open over the middle of the field for a good 10, 15-yard throw. Wide open. I mean, wide open. Over the middle of the field, and he just doesn't even look his way. He's just completely got the blinders on, looking towards Davante Adams. So just little plays like that I noticed throughout this game, you guys, where it just seems like he doesn't have that trust with really anybody else other than Davante and maybe Aaron Jones, as he had a lot of targets in this game as well. But just a rough one all around, you guys. Tough way to go out. I know all of us Packers fans thought this was going to be the year for the Super Bowl, especially with the last dance quotes at the beginning of the season. Between Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams there. Unfortunately, I still believe this was the last dance. I don't see either of these guys coming back next year, unfortunately. And personally, after a loss like that, you guys, it was almost like a wake-up call. Like, it's time to move on. I love A-Rod. I love what he's done for the organization, having an outstanding Hall of Fame quarterback over the last decade plus. Obviously, having 2, back-to-back Hall of Famers between him and Brett Favre is outstanding. Never going to complain about getting to watch those guys huck the rock around the field all day. But at the end of the day, it's time for change sometimes. I think now is a good time to change it up. Just with where this Green Bay Packers team is right now. I mean, we had all the pieces in place, in my opinion, this year to get it done. Still couldn't get it done. Like I said, there was plays left out on the field that should have been made. Unfortunately, it didn't happen for us this year, you guys. So yeah, in this video, I just kind of wanted to come through and talk about, what the Packers should do moving forward here. What are some of the possibilities? Obviously there's a lot of things up in the air right now with this team. There's so many free agents. We'll go through some of the free agents on the list here, and then some of the big time contract names that might be getting cut to save some cap space at the start of the season, depending on which way the Packers organization decides to go here, you guys. But real quick, before we start breaking down what the Packers should do this offseason and where their future kind of is held, If you guys can go ahead and like this video if you like sporting content like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're looking for more sporting content like this in the near future. I've been getting a ton of support lately, you guys, on the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. We're going to keep coming out with as much content as possible for you guys. But without further ado, man, let's just go right into it here and start breaking down the Packers roster, what we can kind of expect heading into next season, and some of the areas of need that we're going to have to address for sure. Heading into the offseason here, you guys. So probably most notably, we'll go through all of the free agents that the Packers have. It's a massive list. I mean, we have basically half of our fucking teams going to free agency this offseason, you guys. So the Packers are going to have to make some major changes to this squad, whether they decide to try and keep it all together and push that cap space back another year like they did for this season, or, you know, they're going to have to basically blow it up. And I wouldn't say we're going to have to go into a deep rebuild where we're missing the playoffs for 10 years straight, but if we can trade Aaron Rodgers and he doesn't retire, and we're able to get some draft capital back for him, as well as maybe a key piece or two, I think that can kind of jumpstart the future of this Packers organization without Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Give Jordan Love a couple added pieces around him to help him progress, see how he does. Give him a good look here at least. Give him a couple seasons. I think he's got 2 years left before he's going to need a contract extension, so that gives us a couple years if we decide to go with Jordan Love. Just to kind of see what this kid's made of. Obviously, he hasn't had a lot of time out on the field. I won't really count the starts or the minutes he's seen out on the field this season. Obviously, it's been, like the one against the Chiefs there, you can't put a lot of weight into that. That's a very tough game for his first ever start, to go into Arrowhead against Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs team, and try and get a win there. That's a tough one for him, which we were still in that game. And then obviously against the Lions, he was able to move the ball decently against the Lions in week 17 there. Obviously came up just short of the victory in that one. The Lions were able to best us 34-31 in that game. But I was happy with Jordan Love's capabilities there. Was able to make some plays later on in that game in the second half to kind of keep us in there and keep it a close game. So I think we definitely are going to give this guy a shot moving forward just to see what he's made of, to see if he's someone we want to keep around for our future QB, if he's going to be that franchise guy for this Packers organization, or if we're going to need to try and find somebody else. I think the most ideal thing that the Packers should do is if Aaron Rodgers is willing to be traded and wants to go play for another team. I'll use Denver, for example, because there was a lot of talk of him going to Denver last offseason. If he were to go to Denver, one thing I would do if I was the Packers organization is I would either take Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater in return for him, just so you got a good backup to go with Jordan Love there. I'd still keep Benkert. He's a free agent this offseason as well, but I would sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal. I think he's a good third option at the QB slot. I would keep him on the squad. But yeah, if you could get a guy like Teddy Bridgewater in there, I wouldn't have him starting. I would still put Jordan Love in, but at least it's a veteran presence in that locker room, and still a veteran guy who can be there to kind of help Jordan Love through his first season starting for the squad. So we'll have to see what happens with that. It really depends on which team Aaron Rodgers decides to go to. There's also the possibility that he decides to retire, depending on all the protocol issues going on around the NFL and what the NFL decides to do before next season with all the protocols that they had in place this year. Maybe Aaron Rodgers just doesn't want to deal with the protocols anymore and decides to call it quits and calls it a career right there. I think that's a heavy possibility as well. Because once again, too, you guys, I don't really see a team out there that he could go to that gives him an absolute bona fide 80-90% chance of winning a Super Bowl. If he were to go to Denver, they got a hell of a division he's got to go through with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes. Good luck in that one. That's going to be tough just to get into the playoffs. And then you go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you were to go to the Steelers, their offensive line is an absolute shambles. That would be an absolute downgrade at the offensive line comparatively to where he is with the Packers right now. I just don't really see a lot of teams out there that have, the team built around him that would allow him to make a big-time Super Bowl run. Like I said, there's not a lot of teams out there that are stacked like that are kind of in the realm looking for a quarterback. So it's tough to say what's going to happen this offseason, you guys. Packers are going to have to make some sort of moves here. Like I said, we'll go through this free agent list real quick because there is a ton of free agents. Starting off in the wide receiver room, we're only got signed next season, you guys, is Amari Rodgers, and Juwan Winfrey, I think, is on a contract as well for next season. Other than that, we have no wide receiver signed. I think Randall Cobb as well. I think Randall Cobb's there next year, but because of his cap hit, I would expect him to be cut by the team. I don't think he's going to be a trade candidate. I don't really see any teams wanting to trade for the guy. I would be happy if the Packers decide to keep Randall Cobb because it is his last year on this contract. I like him. He's a Green Bay Packer at heart. Been with the squad, was drafted by the squad. So I would not be upset to keep him around as a veteran presence on this team next year if he's willing to stay. But it could be someone that he's a cap casualty and they end up cutting him in training camp or something like that. Just because I think Randall Cobb's got around a $10 million cap hit next season. So wouldn't be surprised. So I'm preparing that he's not going to be there, you guys, at the wide receiver slot. So that, like I said, only leaves Rodgers and Juwan Winfrey. We got Devontae Adams going to free agency. You could franchise tag him, which would be around the 20 million plus range. I don't expect the Packers to keep him whatsoever. I think the only way they franchise tag Devontae Adams is if somehow Aaron Rodgers stays with the squad. And then they'll just keep Devontae for one more year and give one more crack at the can to see if we can win the chip. But other than that, I see Devontae moving on. Equanimous St. Brown is also a free agent. I could see him signing a short-term deal with the Packers, maybe another 1 or 2 year prove-it deal to see if he can be someone up and coming in the roster. Malik Taylor is also a free agent, you guys. Same thing. I could see him coming back on a short-term, small deal. Obviously, he was kind of one of the back-end roster spot guys at the wide receiver slot there. But has been shown to be a guy who can make some plays for us in key moments during the game. So it wouldn't be surprising if they try and re-sign him as well. And then the two biggest ones other than Devontae, you guys, we've got Alan Lazard and MVS are both free agents as well. I don't expect the Packers to keep both of those guys, but I definitely think we need to keep one out of the two. I think both of them are, they're not number one options, but they're definitely number two, number three options. Good, stout, capable wide receivers. I'd like to see more so Lazard, I think, over MVS just because of his versatility out there. He's a lot better blocking wide receiver than MVS is, and he's just been more healthy. As of late, comparatively, MVS has been dealing with a lot of injury woes this season. So I could see us keeping one of those two for sure. Then you go over to the tight end room. You got Tunyon and Daphne are both free agents. So that really only leaves Josiah DeGuara. And I think Big Dog Mercedes Lewis is under contract for another season, but he could enter retirement here. I would not be surprised at all if he ends up retiring if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back. Obviously, if we're not going to be in contentions for a Super Bowl, I don't know why he would stick around with the Packers, especially if one of his good buddies, Aaron Rodgers, isn't there anymore. So I'm not expecting him to return for next season either, you guys. So it's going to be huge for the Packers to be able to sign Bob Tunyon and maybe even Daphne as well, maybe draft another tight end in the draft this year. But yeah, that's pretty well it for the receiver and tight end positions. The offensive line, Dennis Kelly is going to be a free agent. Lucas Patrick and Yosh Nijman are all free agents as well. I would say you want to try and keep one or two of those guys. Right now we got 6 guys that are on the active roster going into next season at the offensive line room. So ideally, if you keep 1 or 2 of those guys out of the 3 that are be gone and then maybe draft another 1 or 2, the Packers should be okay on that front. I mean, Cole Van Lanen was on the practice squad. Maybe he has a good offseason and comes in ready to, take on a backup role with the main squad in the next season there. So we'll have to see what happens, you guys. Obviously, Devondre Campbell, Chris Barnes, and Oren Burks. That's pretty much depletes our middle linebacking core. It would be huge for us to try and sign Devondre Campbell this offseason. I think it's huge for sure with Devondre Campbell and Chris Barnes, your 2 starting middle linebackers. You definitely got to sign one of those 2 guys, in my opinion, because right now we only got Ty Summers and Isaiah McDuffie as our 2 Mike linebackers on the roster for next season. So it's going to be crucial, man. You're going to have to find someone to sign out of those 2 guys. You're probably going to have to draft another Mike linebacker, or you're going to have to find somebody else in free agency because that's an area of need desperately. Same with the cornerback room, you guys. We got Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, and Shamar Jean-Charles as our 3 guys under contract next season. We got Kevin Kane, Chandon Sullivan, Rasul Douglas, and Isaac Yadam that are all free agents. Personally, I think it's time to move on from Kevin Kane. He really didn't provide a lot of contribution to the defense this year. He wasn't even a starting cornerback once Eric Stokes and Rasul Douglas were able to emerge in the absence of Jair Alexander. I think it's time to move on from Kevin Kane. If Chandon Sullivan's willing to stay, I think he's a decent slot corner for us. If we could get him on a team-friendly deal, nothing that's going to break our bank, I wouldn't mind keeping that guy around. I really think the biggest signing for the cornerback slot, we need to get Rasul Douglas signed to a long-term extension. I would like to see this guy around for the foreseeable future. He was outstanding for us this season. One of the bright spots on that Packers defense this year. Made some big-time clutch plays throughout the season for us. Would love to see him back on the squad. And if you think about a cornerback room that consists of Douglas, Jair Alexander when he's healthy, and Eric Stokes as your 3rd. I mean, that's a nasty cornerback room. That might be one of the best cornerback trios in the league. So that'll leave our back end looking real good. The only safety we have on free agency is Henry Black. Wouldn't mind seeing him come back on a team-friendly deal as well. I liked what I seen from him in the spurts that he was able to get out there on the field. Decent special teams guy as well, even though the special teams for the Packers is an absolute joke right now. Definitely going to have to get that shit sorted out this motherfucking offseason, you guys, because that was bad. That was a hard one to watch there at the end of that game on Saturday. And then obviously Bojorquez, our punter's obviously a free agent as well. Going to be interesting to see if we decide to keep him around. I thought he did decent, man. The dude's got a leg on him. He can kick the fuck out of the ball. As long as he doesn't allow people to block the motherfucker, we'd be okay. But I think if we could sign him as well, maybe to a year or something, it's going to be interesting to see what Mason Crosby decides to do. I think he has 1 year left on his contract. He could just enter retirement. It's all really going to depend on Rodgers, you guys, in my opinion. If Aaron Rodgers leaves, a lot of these guys are not coming back, in my opinion. You're going to have a complete overhaul of this Packers roster. If a lot of these guys come back. I got kind of a list of Packers players who I think will either leave the team or get cut by the team or retire. If Aaron Rodgers does not come back, obviously one of those names is Aaron Rodgers because we're unsure about that. But Mercedes Lewis, I think, would retire. I wouldn't be surprised if Mason Crosby retires. And then Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, because of their cap salary situation, I would not be surprised, especially with the emergence of Rashawn Gary, that both of those guys end up getting cut just to save cap space entering next year, because the Packers are $40-some million over the cap. It's going to be tight for us to get underneath the cap there if we decide to keep everybody. I'm not too sure how they're going to be able to make the books work. But at the end of the day, you guys, unfortunately, it seems like it's the end of an era. It's been phenomenal being able to watch Aaron Rodgers all these years, to have a 30-year stint between Rodgers and Favre, to have just two Hall of Fame QBs slinging the rock for you. It's been an absolute treat to watch, you guys. Who knows what the future holds for this Packers team. I'm really hoping Jordan Love can step his game up next season and be the quarterback that the Packers organization thought he could be, and why they took him in the first round a couple years ago. We'll have to see what happens, you guys. I mean, you won't really know until we see a full season from this guy and see if he's able to progress on a week-to-week basis, and just see if he can improve and pretty much go from there. We'll see what happens here, you guys. But it's going to be an exciting off season nonetheless. A lot of big changes, I feel like, coming to this Packers organization. Will it be for the better or the worse? That is yet to be determined. Fingers crossed here it works out in the long run for the Packers organization. Would love to see us get another crack at a Super Bowl here in the next decade or so, whether that be with A-Rod as our QB or with somebody else as our quarterback. But yeah, man, should be an interesting offseason to say the least. Definitely not the way we wanted things to end in the divisional round, especially you get the home field advantage for a reason. Obviously didn't take advantage of the home field advantage this year. But yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting future for this Packers organization, man. I would love your guys' opinion in the comment section down below. What do you think are the biggest areas of need for the Packers this offseason? What do we need to address the most going forward? And then I guess as well, you guys, do you think it's time to move on from A-Rod, or do you think the Packers should do whatever they can to keep this guy around for another year? Personally, I think it's time to move on and cut ties. Love the guy. Love listening to him every Tuesday on the Pat McAfee show. Loved watching him play as well. I just think it's time to mmove on. This was the year, man. I felt like this was the year, and the fact that we couldn't even make it through the divisional round, I just think it's time to move on at this point, you guys, and give it another crack at the can with somebody else helming the quarterback position. Obviously, it might not be as easy, but maybe we can put a bunch of good pieces around Jordan Love, and you never know. Maybe we'll strike the iron for the third consecutive time and have another outstanding quarterback. You just never know, you guys. Yet to be determined. But like I said, I would love your guys' opinion in the comment section down below on what do you think the Packers need to do as an organization moving forward, heading into this offseason. But without further ado, you guys, that pretty well wraps her up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please go ahead and like this video if you like sporting content like this. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're looking for more sporting content like this in the near future. Once again, you guys, thanks so much for watching, and this is Nizzy with Nizzy Sports Channel.